This is the Club of Rome's Climate Emergency Plan and Call to Action. This was presented to world leaders in 2018 and describes the set of events in vague detail about what need to take place in order to basically prevent climate change, but in reality, the Club of Rome's goals are not based on preventing climate change. And I'll get into that a little bit further, and you'll be able to hear it from the horse's own mouth. This is a document that is publicly available and that I'm sure a lot of elite people or politicians know about, and they know about these plans that they have agreed to and signed into action to implement into their communities without voters' direct knowledge, but rather they do publicly publish these sorts of documents. Otherwise, they would somehow, possibly get slipped out and then people would freak out. But this is all public knowledge. So, and for some reason, that's, I guess, comforting to people who don't really care to know about things that might affect their world. They just kind of want to pretend like they're in their own little bubble, and I get that, but that's not who I am. So I encourage people to go through this document, download the PDF, and then look at it for yourself. It's not very long. It's only 16 pages. But I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I'm only going to go through the parts that I believe are relevant to the gas prices, as well as a tidbit from the introduction. So here's that. To put this situation into historical perspective, the Club of Rome alerted the world to the environmental and demographic challenges ahead as long as 50 years ago. The central message of The Limit to Growth, a report of the Club of Rome published in 1972, was the quest for unlimited growth in population, material goods, and resources on a finite planet would eventually result in the collapse of its economic and environmental systems. Unfortunately, it seems that this prediction is beginning to materialize and will escalate unless humanity radically changes course. Together with the mass extinction of species and the rise of inequality within and between nations, climate change is a human society's most pressing global challenge. Until recently, it was seen as a future threat, but today increasing climate chaos is the reality affecting the lives of millions in the 21st century. It will dictate the long-term prosperity and security of nations and the entire planet. More than any other issue, with this emergency plan, the Club of Rome is attempting to respond to the direct call for action from citizens around the world and to formulate a plan that will meet suitable, ambitious reduction targets and ensure climate stability. So here I want to introduce you to Dennis Meadows, the author of this climate book in 1972, and so that you can get an understanding of his real goal or what he really believes about this climate thing.
But the important thing to realize, we don't consider climate change to be a problem. It's a symptom. When you have physical growth in a finite planet, pressures are going to mount to stop the growth. And climate change is one of those pressures. So it's a symptom of our efforts to keep promoting physical growth in a finite planet. Ironically, if we solved climate change, if we could somehow push a magic button and eliminate greenhouse gases anymore, then we'll just have to see bigger pressures in other sectors, then water scarcity or epidemics or warfare or some other pressure will have to become even more powerful, because finally the pressures against growth have to equal the pressures in favor of growth. And only when they're equal, growth will stop. Growth is going to stop, for sure, and it's just a matter of what will be the pressures. And climate change is one of them. Globally, we are so far above the population and the consumption levels which can be supported by this planet that I know in one way or another it's going to come back down. So I don't hope to avoid that. I hope that it can occur in a special way, peaceful. Peace doesn't mean that everybody's happy, but it means that conflict isn't solved through violence, through force, but rather in other ways. And so the planet can support something like 1 billion people maybe 2 billion. I mean, we could even have 8 or 9 billion probably if we have a very strong dictatorship, which is smart. That's, unfortunately, you never have smart dictatorships. They're always stupid. So, but if you had a smart dictatorship and a low standard of living, you can have it. But we want to have freedom and we want to have a high sentence. So we're going to have 1 billion people. And we're now at 7, so we have to get back down. I hope that this can be slow, relatively slow, and that it can be done in a way which is relatively equal, so that people share the experience, and that's what lies ahead.
So this is one of the main guys who created this idea. And I don't know about you, but I don't trust the guy. He doesn't seem to have the right intentions. He just seems like he is power hungry and just creepy. So here's their plan. Our call to action: transform energy systems. Number 1, halt fossil fuel expansions and fossil fuel subsidies by 2020. No new investments in coal, oil, or gas exploration and development after 2020. Phase out indirect fossil fuel subsidies by 2020 to 2025 in developed countries and by 2030 in developing countries, and redirect funds to support investments in renewable energy and efficiency. Minimize fugitive emissions from fossil fuel operations and total phase out of existing fossil fuel industries by 2050. And then the other part that I feel like is relevant is make sure market prices reflect the true cost of production, integrating social, environmental, and ecosystem decline costs in the market pricing. So basically, force and implement laws that ensure that big corporations charge more money for products by assessing also the disturbance that their products cause to the environment and to the human population, and then incorporating that into the price so as to charge people more money for their products, not just by what it costs to make it, but the cost of labor, but the cost that it has on society. It's so bizarre. It's like, so you want them to make more money so you can see who the plans are really supposed to benefit. Because in the end, it will crush out the small business owner who can't afford to sell these products at such a high price because they don't have the clientele to buy the products, and it will bankrupt all the middle class and only be beneficial to the big corporations who are going to gain money from this and lose any kind of competition from the smaller companies. And then also it's going to not affect the people who can afford the higher prices. The notion that the earth is finite and that humans have some kind of power over it is ridiculous. We have seen time and time again that the earth heals itself, like our bodies. The earth heals itself, and it knows what to do to heal itself. It's a closed system. And until there's definitive proof of what our world is and how it was created, until we have even explored every inch of the earth and we know what's inside of the earth, not just by theory, but by fact, I wouldn't believe that we have the power to affect it. All we know for certain is that the world has been here for a long time and it continues on despite any adverse effects that we think have been caused on it. They say that species are becoming extinct. Well, what about all the new species that we see? The new species of animals that we're seeing. They just recently found this like species of I think larvae or something that eat plastic. The earth created, it wasn't genetically modified. The earth created a insect that ate the plastic. Whether you believe in the Lord or not, whether or not you believe in Jesus Christ or believe in his Father he created heaven and earth, what you should know for sure is that the Earth is much bigger than humans. Go to Google Earth and just like spin the Earth around as fast as you can, and then don't even look, just grab a spot on the Earth and go up really close to it. More than likely, there's going to be nothing there but Earth. Humans are not some kind of demigods who control the world. We didn't create the world. We don't control the world. At my parents' house, they were like ripping out the blackberry bushes last summer, and they sprayed a bunch of like chemicals on them to kill them. And guess what? They're back this year. Crazy. They're trying all they can to get rid of these blackberry bushes, but they can't. Apparently, Bill Gates released a bunch of genetically modified mosquitoes in order to try to prevent disease, supposedly. And so, how is that working? If we can't even freaking control the mosquitoes, what makes you freaking think that we have any kind of control over the entire world? It's ridiculous. Do you see what I see? Open up your eyes, please. Stars are shining brightly. Is it a full moon? Yeah, I think it might be. Can you see what I see? The sun is shining brightly. It's starting to blind me. I wanna rub my eyes and close them tightly. I thought you were the one, I still think you might be. But you fucked it all up. I guess you are just like me. Open up your eyes, open up your eyes, open up your eyes. Can you really not see what I see when you look into the sky? Is it a full moon? Yeah, I think it might be. Marching one by one to the grave. Ignorance is bliss, or so they say. Let's ignore the rest. Just for today, we went too far. Now it's too late. It could be too late now to be saved. It doesn't take a genius to know you've been played. Was it such an inconvenience to separate the truth from the shade? Open up your eyes, open up your eyes, open up your eyes. Do you see what I see? The stars are shining so very brightly. If you don't already know about it, then I've got something to show about it. If you wanna take it slow, I'll follow your flow. We can talk all night and see where it goes. Do you see what I see? Open up your eyes, please. The night sky's lit, the stars are shining brightly. It might be worth it to open up your eyes and see. One by one to the grave. It doesn't take a genius to know you play. This world's a scary place, and that's nothing new. We've all made mistakes, we've all been confused. We've all fallen down, our knees might get bruised, but we stand back up. That's just about all we can do. Do you see what I see? Open up your eyes, please. Stars are shining brightly. Is it a full moon?